I went plant-based. 6 years ago, I was diagnosed first with ovarian cancer, which ended up being appendix cancer. And right before the surgery, I had met Sally, because I was thinking about going plant-based before I even knew that I had any problems, you know. Then it was like that kind of happened, so then that kicked me back for a year. I couldn't go plant-based because like I didn't have to have regular chemo, but I had to have a hot chemo wash where they rock you back and forth for an hour and a half. 3 people die out of 30 for the surgery. Glad I didn't know that. And I had mucin all through my belly, which they call jelly belly. So they just like split me in half, and I already didn't have a cervix and a uterus. Now I got even less. They took out the appendix, the gallbladder, the spleen, 8 inches of my colon, and my ovaries and everything, of course. So then I made the commitment I have to stay plant-based, because he had told me that I had a little spot on my liver. He goes, "Hey, you have a little 5-millimeter piece on your liver." I'm like, oh, here we go, you know, I'm paranoid, you know. And so year after year after year, going back for scans, he puts in my paperwork, my oncologist at Shadyside, which I'm impressed with, because he actually went plant-based also. I come down for an appointment and he said, guess what, I went plant-based, you know. But he has, I forget how many daughters and a wife, and he since then said it's too hard, okay? And so he's kind of like, I think he's still trying to do it, but he's not, you know. But he does put in my report that patient continues to stay plant-based, which I'm impressed with, you know. But so I said to him last visit, maybe like a year ago then, I said, but it's so weird that piece is not growing. I mean, it's been 5 years, you know. You'd think at least 10 millimeters or something now, you know. And he said, I think it might not be alive and it might be scar tissue. So that gave me the gumption to keep staying plant-based, keep it at bay, whatever I can do. It's working, so I'm not poking the tiger, you know what I mean? But my focus, I have a TikTok and a YouTube. Now, I only did 2 videos on YouTube, and I was told the one's 20 minutes. They're like, it's a little too long, you know, but I was making a Dijon pasta sauce. So the problem there is I'm here, and the camera's over there because of the way my kitchen is. So I actually have a kitchen underneath me. In my house, I have like an apartment, which is a huge kitchen, which I can set everything up. My nephew has been living down there for 3 months, or 3 years. He got married now. They got a house. He's leaving the day after Easter. So I will try to do 1 video a week and keep it simple, like 10 minutes. Let's just get some foods out. That's my basis, is simple. Nobody in my family really is plant-based. Definitely not my husband, okay? But my daughter, she had PCOS. She had tumors all over her ovaries, things like that. She fostered a child, and she ended up adopting her, and she's like, I'm good, you know. But I saw her like depressed one day, crying, upset, because she actually had a baby straight from the hospital that she had to give back after a couple months. And you know, when you get a baby through like the detoxing and things like that, and he's connected to you, and then you got to hand him over. She was in a fetal position. I'm bawling, you know, it was awful. So I said to her, why don't you go plant-based? Why don't you try? Because her gynecologist told her, if you were my daughter, because I saw her ovaries on the screen and it looked like Swiss cheese, and I was like, what is that? Like, I never saw that before, you know? And he said to her, if you were my daughter, I would juice you up on hormones, and I'm going to tell you you're not going to get pregnant. So I said to her, seeing her upset over this baby, and I said, you know, why don't you go and why don't you try going plant-based? I started making her lunches, which was more work for me. You know, I had the assembly line for her and my son, who went plant-based, and the first month lost 30 pounds. Okay, till he met a girl who's nothing but cheese, and more cheese, right? So that didn't pan out. So you know, but my daughter stuck with it and surprised us and got pregnant. So I have a grandson, you know, and it was great. But I would say I started her in the spring, and by February she had a positive test. So the clincher to that is, my son used to tell me everything, till the girlfriend, right? Okay, but my daughter tells me nothing. So she's real, you know, so she hit about 11. It was like, you know, I didn't know she developed nothing. She don't tell you nothing, you know. She's very, like, herself, you know. So, anyway, I said to her, because she went she used to go almost a year without a period, okay? And so then I said, hey, wouldn't it be funny? You're having these smoothies, and wouldn't it be funny you started getting your period? And she said, Mom, I've been getting it every month. I didn't want to tell you. I'm like, what do you mean? You know, because I'm over the top, you know, whatever. So, the whole thing to that was, which she didn't tell me till later, was when she went to the doctors for her first sonogram, she told the lady, yeah, I got PCOS, I got tumors all over my ovaries, I have holes in my ovaries. And she said, ma'am, your ovaries are normal. There's no evidence of any of that. Wow. And she goes, I forgot to tell you. I'm like, come on. I mean, these are milestones, you know. But, yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. But I credit my son-in-law to making me stay plant-based, because I made tacos one day, and I said, when I first said I'm going to go plant-based, and I just put a little bit of meat in there, you know, and I said, I can have a little bit of meat, and he's like, wow, you couldn't even go plant-based for a day. And I'm like, yeah, he's right. So I did the refried beans, I did the toppings. What's wrong with that? There was nothing wrong with it. Why do I need the beef, you know? So I try to focus on feeding your family, because nobody wants to be, I work at a car dealership, nobody there wants to be plant-based, but they're first in line when I bring in the muffins and the dips and the brownie and everything else. And I had a girl I actually worked with who was everything from keto, she had been anorexic, bulimic, everything. And when I first started there, she walked past me with a plate of cheese and pepperoni, and I'm like, you're eating that for lunch? And she's like, yeah. We had a younger girl actually started last year, and I said to her, did you want to order something today? They're ordering lunch. And she said, oh, yeah, I could wait, because I just have a block of cheese I'm gonna eat for. I'm like, this girl's eating a block of cheese for lunch. I mean, amazing what people do, you know. So the girl that was keto and Nutrisystem, and she tried everything, okay? She would walk past my desk, what do you have? She'd eat it, you know. And she was like, you know, I noticed I cut out dairy, and all my swelling went down in my hands. Like my arthritis and that, it's like everything is, you know. Now, she couldn't get up her steps at her house. Now she runs up the steps, and even her children are telling her, that's enough weight, Mom. You look good, you know. And she lost so much weight. She looks and she doesn't waver. I mean, she's like, I'm not, you know. And so, hey, I give her credit. But a lot of the people at work, when I make food, are like, oh, I ain't got time for the plant-based. I hate that. I mean, what are you doing? If you're broiling a steak and you're making veggies and everything, you're still cooking. I mean, I don't sit there and make a tub of vegetables, you know, on a Sunday night. I don't have time. My son had a daughter. Then he met his girlfriend, who's now his wife. She had 4 children. And they decided, she said, if you want to get married and have a child, you're barking up the wrong tree. Well, that took about a week, and then she said, I'd marry you, yeah. You know, I think I'd have a kid, too. So they had a girl. So we didn't have any son, like, down the line, you know, on our side of the family. So he was scheduled to get a vasectomy, and then we had to go away, so he canceled. And they ended up, let's have another one. Let's have Irish twins, but now they have a boy. So my husband, and then, you know, my daughter had her baby, and then she adopted the other. So my husband said we went from 1 grandchild to a baseball team. So I have 9 grandchildren, okay, who, I mean, you know, and if I feed them, I'm feeding them, you know. My biggest thing is trying to keep my mouth shut. My girlfriend will attest to that, okay? We don't need comments, but, okay, because, I mean, like, I don't like certain things they do, you know, feeding the baby, the 1-year-old chocolate milk to go to bed, and I can't say anything, so it's like, it is the hardest, and I do say things, because I can't keep my mouth shut, and then I'm ousted for a while, and then I'm back, because they need me to babysit, you know, but anyway, so, you know how that goes, right? So, I mean, I want to focus on eating simple. Let's just make something quick, make something that you can make a pot of, freeze it. I'm a big freeze person. I make individual soups. I made a potato leek soup last week. I put them in individual containers. I grab one, I set it on my desk. By noon, you just have to nuke it a little bit or heat it up. I actually have a lunch box you plug in that heats it, which I love. I do that for my chilies. you know, and things like that. So if you make, I still have stuff in there from, I don't even remember when I made it. I mean, if you make one thing, even one a week, and freeze it and rotate it, you can have your lunches, you know, during the week. So what I did here was, I wanted to show you a couple different things, something simple. So I just took a bunch of vegetables. If you're in a hurry and that, you know, you can go to Walmart and get your broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, whatever. Okay, and what I did here, now in the recipe, it says 2 teaspoons of the cumin seeds, okay? But I backed off a little bit for it, you know. I think I only put I put the 2 in the first batch because I made a couple batches for you guys today. But so I like for this amount, because I didn't even fill this up, is I just put